Hi, my name is Bella. This is Syra.
Hi.
And Benjamin.
Good morning.
Today, as our very special guest, we are lucky to have the Commissioner for Child and Young People. Please welcome Helen Connolly. I'm sorry if I pronounced your name wrong.
That's right, you pronounced it well.
Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to talk to us. How was your morning?
My morning has been, I took the dog for a walk and I had to water the garden because it hasn't rained, which is a bit annoying. And then I've written a few emails, taken a few calls, got invited to go away for the weekend, but I can't go. So it's been a good morning.
That's good.
Please tell us about your position and what it entails.
Okay, so as Bella said, I'm the Commissioner for Children and Young People. So it's my job to represent children and young people to the Parliament. So I'm not part of government, so I'm not part of schools or education, but I get to go out and find out what's important to kids in South Australia and then to tell people who are making decisions about things that impact on kids all about the things that you think are important and hopefully get your voices heard in places where they normally wouldn't.
Why do you think it's important for young people to have a voice?
I think it's really important. A, because you have your rights. So you know that children have rights under the Convention on the Rights of the Child. And one of those rights, number 12, is to actually have a voice and to be heard. But secondly, not just about rights, but when you speak, you say things different to adults. And so one of the things I say is that adults have a lot of knowledge and they know a lot of stuff. But what they don't know about is what being a kid is like in 2021. So you have all of the information about the context, so what your life is like, and therefore when we bring those things together, we're going to have much, much better decisions being made if we have content, which is adult knowledge, and context, which is all the stuff you know about being a kid.
What are the biggest issues facing young people in South Australia?
Well, it's really interesting. So we talk about children 0 to 12 and then over 12 to 18 being young people. So children and young people have different issues, which is kind of understandable because an 8-year-old and a 17-year-old are quite different. So when children tell me the things that matter to them, they talk about a lot about school and a lot about friendships at school. So a lot of issues about bullying, about feeling sometimes that they don't fit in. There are issues around worrying about the future. So a lot of kids have told me that actually moving up to the next class, or now for you, you'll know this in year 7, going up to high school is a big worry. So they're the things that children in primary school tell me. And then as you get older, kids talk about the worry about getting a good job in the future. They worry about, they still worry about friends and they still worry about bullying, but then they worry about stress and things like that. So, and things that are happening maybe in their families more. So there's a lot of things that kids are kind of worried about and are talking to me about, but then they're also saying there's some really great stuff too. So there's great things about what's happening for kids and learning and fun things.
That's good.
What career path did you follow and how did you end up as the Commissioner?
So how did I end up as the Commissioner? It was probably, I've been working in lots of the not-for-profit organisations. So I worked for the Catholic charities, and I worked for Anglicans, and I worked for Red Cross, and I worked in a whole range of places that always have had services for children, young people and families. And I've done that for so long and I think there was a job advertised to be Commissioner. So I'm the first Commissioner, so I'm really lucky. And so Commissioner position, they said, let's have a Commissioner. And I applied. So I read about it in the paper. I applied like a job, like any job. It was a bit harder than getting other jobs, I have to say. So, and one of the really hard things about getting this job was I had to do an interview with children. So I think there was about 20 year 6s and 7s at Sturt Street Primary School, and I had to do part of my process to get the job was to have a whole couple of hours with them and see if they thought I could do the job. So they rated me, and then other adults also interviewed me. So it was a funny, long process, but I'd done lots and lots of work in between time with lots of different families.
What are you most proud of in your work?
So I think the thing I'm proud of the most is when you're the first person to do a job and no one's ever heard of that job, the thing you have to do before you can really make a difference is people to go, oh yeah, I get what she's doing, I get what her job is, and she's actually connecting to kids. So I think the thing I'm most proud of is that I spend so much time going out and having conversations with children who tell me the things that they want me to talk about. And so I'm most proud of the fact that I think I've done that part of the job really well, because I'm about 2 days a week. I think I go out to schools on average. That's lots of kids I'm listening to and talking to, and I think I understand you probably better than a lot of other adults.
What advice would you give to students here at our school?
I think the advice I would give is to try and not worry too much about the future, and to remember that living is what happens every day, and that it's really important that you feel good every day about the choices that you make. And so I know from listening to you that children are very kind, and they want to help people, and that they want to be respected and they want to show respect. And I reckon if you did that every day and you could go to sleep at night thinking, was that a day when I did all those things? That's a good day.
How should schools like ours ensure that students' voice is really heard and that we can really make a difference?
Fantastic question. Because lots of kids, that's one of the things that kids say all the time is, no one listens to us, we don't have a voice, or they pretend they're listening to us. We get to say things but we don't see any change on the things that we've said. So I think this school is clearly doing it. So and I can tell. I walk into a school and I can tell straight away if the kids are engaged, if they feel that they're included and that they have a voice, just from the way that you interact with me, the way you interact with the teachers. So I think it is all about ensuring that if you say children have a voice, you have to really mean it, and then you have to also do something about it. So no one just wants to speak. People want to be heard, and then they want action, and that's the really critical part. So action, action, action.
Can you tell us about how your work has made a difference to South Australian children's lives?
I think, so when I started in this job, I went out and asked kids all over South Australia what they wanted me to do, because I thought that was really important, because I could make up a whole heap of things and then do it and then go back to kids and they might say, well, that's great, but that's not what we wanted. So when I went out and spoke to kids and asked them what they wanted, they told me they wanted me to do 5 things really. The first one was, they said, please have someone that we know is a commissioner who's there for us, and keep coming out, talking to us and listening to us and doing the things and taking our voices to the people who make decisions. So that was number 1. Number 2, they said, was, we're really worried about kids who maybe can't afford to do the things that other kids can do. So kids who might find it difficult to have the right uniform at school, kids who might not be able to play sport or go to drama or Lego or whatever it might be because their families don't have much money. So that was a really big concern. The third thing that kids told me they wanted me to do was about kind of talking to education and school and saying lots of kids really struggle in school. Lots of kids need a bit of extra help, and that other kids really wanted them to get that help so that everyone could have an education. So that was really important. The fourth one was, we want you to do something about bullying, because it's such a big has such a big impact on us as children, and maybe adults don't really get it and they give us advice that doesn't work. And then the fifth thing they said was, we don't feel that we're learning all the things we might need to be good adults. And so we're a bit worried that the lessons, particularly in high school, and the things we learn aren't really preparing us. So I've worked on doing those 5 things. So as I said, I keep going out and listening to kids, and kids come up and say hello to me in the street. So I figure maybe they know who I am. Not everyone, because there's 370,000 children that I have to kind of look out for. So it's a bit too many to know every single one of them. But I write lots of reports, and I keep going back and checking in on all of my work with kids to find out what it is that they want me to do. So I reckon the fact that we write reports, people listen, people contact me, a lot of adults say, oh, I hadn't even thought about it in that way. I think I'm proud and think that I've made a difference in having people think, maybe we should be listening to children more.
Tell us about your childhood. Did anything happen that influenced you till this day?
I had a really great childhood, and I loved school. I was born overseas, so I was born in Wales, and I came to Australia when I was about 10. And I lived in Brisbane, and then I moved to Adelaide with my mum and my dad and my brothers. And I had a kind of a childhood where all the rest of my family, all my cousins, aunties, uncles, and there were hundreds of them, didn't live here, so just my family. So that made me have to make lots of friends. So, because I didn't have a big family to rely on, so it made me very, very talkative. And so my childhood, I was always being told off for talking too much. I think probably I still am. So that's probably the thing. I'm really, and I'm very curious. So my childhood was always about why. So you know when you hear little kids and they go, why? So I don't think I've ever stopped that. So I'm a bit annoyed to keep saying why. So my childhood was fun and free and lovely, and I had, pets, and it was great.
That's good.
What is your next focus for the children in South Australia? What are the big issues for the future?
So at the moment I'm looking at sports. So I'm looking at, lots of people say that sport's a great thing. I think sport is probably a really good thing. But we also know that for some kids they don't feel that they can play, and so I'm looking at what sport means to children. So that's a big one. And then I'm also spending a lot of time at the moment with children with disabilities, and talking to them about the things that they want and the struggles that they have to play, to make friends, and other things in their life. So that's a big focus as well. And also we're about to do some work on civics and citizenship. So probably stuff you do in social studies. That's a really big focus. So how can you, I have a thing that says that you need to understand how things work in order to be part of it. So if you want to have a voice as you get older, you need to understand how to do that. And so we're looking at what we might be able to do to support all schools be able to do some kind of community projects to really understand what being involved is about.
Helen, your work life sounds very busy. Do you ever get a chance to take time out for yourself? And if you do, what would you like to do in your precious time?
It is busy, but when you're doing something that you really love and it's fun, it doesn't feel like that. So, so other people looking at it would go, oh, wow. But I really enjoy it. So, so I'm pretty lucky with the job I have. I do have time out. And what do I like to do? I like walking. Other than walking my dog, because it's always pulling on my arm, because it's very disobedient, and I'm not very good at training dogs. That's one thing I need to learn. So I think I have a balanced life. I visit my mum and dad. I've got 5 children, so they keep me pretty busy. They're all adults, so Them coming with all their dramas all the time is keeps me busy. Yeah, so I do have time out, and when I don't mind watching a bit of Netflix, you know, that kind of stuff.
That's nice. Well, thank you for coming in today, Helen. It's nice to know that someone is looking out for our interests. PNC podcast out.
Thank you. That was fun. You guys are good.
Thank you.
You're really good.